I'll be honest with you right from the start. There are moments in life when you think you've seen it all, when you think nothing can really surprise you anymore, and then suddenly you find yourself walking into a restaurant with Taylor Swift by your side, and you realize, nope, life still has a few surprises up its sleeve. That's exactly how it felt when I stepped into 1587 Prime, Travis's brand new steakhouse in Kansas City, with Taylor right there next to me, her hand brushing against mine as she pointed out every little detail she noticed, and in that moment, I knew I was living through something I'd never forget. From the second we pushed open those heavy glass doors, I was hit with this rush of warmth, like I just stepped into a place that wasn't just about food, but about passion, family, and dreams coming true. Travis has always been someone who pours himself into whatever he does, but standing there looking at that space, I realized he hadn't just built a restaurant. He'd built a reflection of his own heart, and the fact that I got to see it all for the first time with Taylor made it feel like one of those core memories you tuck away forever. I remember thinking to myself, okay, Kylie, take this all in, because this is not just dinner, this is history being written, and somehow you're right in the middle of it. The first thing that struck me was how alive the place felt. The lights were soft, golden, almost like candlelight, wrapping everything in this intimate glow that made you feel welcome the second you walked in. The smell of seared steak mingled with buttery garlic and fresh herbs, and my stomach practically sang before we even sat down. And then there were the little touches. Dark wood polished to a shine, plush seating that made you feel both luxurious and comfortable, and music playing low in the background, not too loud, just enough to remind you this wasn't some ordinary place. This was an experience. I glanced at Taylor, and she was already scanning the room with that sharp, observant eye of hers, whispering, "This feels like him, doesn't it?" And she was right. The whole space carried Travis's energy, big, bold, but also thoughtful, inviting, and rooted in family. I laughed to myself thinking about how he used to talk about this dream, how many times I heard him say, "One day, Kylie, I want to build a place that feels like home but tastes like a dream," and here we were, standing inside the very thing he had imagined. As we sat down, the staff welcomed us with such genuine kindness that I could almost feel Travis's influence. He's the kind of person who makes everyone feel like family, and that had spilled over into every single person working that night. Taylor leaned in, her eyes sparkling, and said, "You can tell he poured himself into this. Look at the menu, Kylie. This isn't just food. This is storytelling." And she was right again. Every dish told a piece of Travis and Patrick's story, from the perfectly aged prime rib to the clever little sides that nodded at Kansas City traditions. Even the number 1587, 15 for Patrick, 87 for Travis, wasn't just a name, it was a symbol, a declaration of friendship, brotherhood, and roots that run deep in the soil of football and family. And the more I read, the more I realized this wasn't just a steakhouse. This was Travis planting a flag in the ground saying, "This is who I am, and this is what I love." Taylor and I couldn't stop smiling as we tasted our way through the night. I swear, every bite felt like it was crafted with care, like the chefs in the kitchen weren't just cooking but performing some kind of culinary symphony. Taylor, with her usual enthusiasm, leaned back in her chair, fork in hand, and said, "Kylie, this is insane. I've eaten all over the world, but this right here, this has soul." And I knew she meant it, because Taylor doesn't throw around compliments casually. She has this way of seeing straight into the heart of things, and she saw that this wasn't just about steak or sides or desserts. It was about Travis's heart being on full display. And I couldn't help but feel proud, not just as his sister-in-law, but as someone who knows how hard he's worked, how much he's sacrificed, and how deeply he cares about leaving something behind that matters. But let me tell you the best part. It wasn't just the food or the lights or even the history behind the number 1587. It was sitting there with Taylor, laughing about little things, sharing stories, and realizing that this wasn't just a night out. It was family. Taylor leaned over at one point, resting her chin in her hand, and said quietly, almost to herself, "You know, Kylie, it means so much to me to be here, to see this, to share this with you. This is Travis's dream, but it's also yours, because family dreams aren't just about one person, they're about everyone who stands beside them." And I don't mind admitting it, I got a little choked up because she was right. Being part of this family, standing in that restaurant, it wasn't just about supporting Travis, it was about recognizing that we're all woven into each other's stories. The truth is, I'll never forget that night. I'll never forget the way the chandeliers reflected in Taylor's eyes, the way the room seemed to glow with more than just light, the way the laughter rose up around us like music, the way I felt so small and so big at the same time. Small because I was humbled by the love and vision Travis had poured into this place, and big because I was part of it, because I got to witness it firsthand. And maybe that's why I'm sitting here talking about it now, because sometimes you don't realize in the moment just how important something is until later when you're replaying it in your mind and thinking, wow, that wasn't just a dinner. That was a piece of history. That was family. That was love. So yeah, when people ask me about 1587 Prime, I don't just say, oh, it's Travis's new restaurant. I say it's where I got to see a dream come true. It's where I got to walk side by side with Taylor Swift, not as the global superstar, but as family, as a sister, as someone who cared enough to stand in that moment with me. And that's a story I'll tell for the rest of my life, because nights like that don't come around often. And when they do, you hold on to them, you tuck them away, and you make sure the world knows just how special they really are.